Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Well, hi, it's Stan in Gainesville, and today we discuss emotional responses, big dogs. Should I get in the minister's face? And all that on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
Originals.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 340. And today we've got Stan, Steve, and me back at you. So welcome back, Stan. It's good to have you back on the show.
Good to be. My first Tuesday of the crazy year.
So anyway, we've got some exciting news that happened this week. And it's not about AI girlfriends or anything like that.
Is it political?
It's not political. It's about U2 opening up at the Sphere in Las Vegas. That happened a few nights ago. And what an awesome concert that was. Oh my God. Have you guys seen this thing?
Little bits and pieces, little bits.
I'm looking for a ticket. I mean, it's there through. Look at my notes here. It's there through the 14th of December.
That's right. That's 14th of December. Tickets. The lowest price ticket is $400, and I think they go up to about $1,600. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about the Sphere later on in the show during our Let's Talk About segment. So we have a lot of details, and we're working on getting the designer on our show.
Willie Williams?
Willie Williams. Yeah.
Who's been with U2 for 40 years?
Forever. He's like the Mark Brickman of YouTube. Or U2. I keep on calling YouTube. Why is that?
And I think he's a protege, a friend of the show, Wendell Harrington.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Well, we're working on that.
And, of course, Zach.
So we should get Willie Williams on the show. But I was also reading anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. We got lots to talk about here. But let's get started. Steve has our first question of the day.
Confused in the Midwest. I designed set and lighting for a church event. On opening night, after the curtain call, the minister called the youth pastor on stage and proceeded to tell the audience what a good job he had done on the production. He went further and said, "Everything on stage came from the talent and mind of our youth minister." I didn't even know we had a youth minister. I was looking at the choir director who was looking at me. We created the show along with a team of moms and dads who built the show. Then I noticed everyone in the audience looking at each other. Should I just let this slide? The church pays really well.
That answers the question right there. Next question.
Well, it's not about you confused in the Midwest. It's not about
It's
you.
about the money. It's all about the money.
I would say you answered your own question. You were looking at the choir director who was looking at you, and then everyone in the audience was looking at each other because they're the ones who built the show. So I think everyone knows that you and the choir director did this. Who knows what the minister was thinking about? It's kind of unfortunate, I think, that the youth pastor at some point didn't acknowledge, the other two people in the room who had contributed to the show. So when you say, I didn't know we had a youth pastor, that suggests to me that you were a member of that church. So maybe, you can walk up to the minister sometime, over a beer and say, hey, the choir director and I did a lot of work on that show. And he might tell you his agenda of why he said that. So probably no villains here. If you're an outside contractor, then clearly the choir director knows what you did. And since it's really good money, they're going to bring you back. So you probably don't want to jeopardize that by embarrassing the minister. What do you guys do? Has it ever happened to you that you didn't get credit for what you had done?
All the freaking time. It's the curse of being ahead of your time. And nobody wants to hear you say, when you had an idea and it didn't work out or you didn't do it or whatever, and then 5 years later somebody else is doing it, and nobody wants to hear you say, I was talking about that 5 years ago. Nobody wants to hear that. So it's the curse of being somebody who's there, gets it done, and if you're out for credit, run a credit card company. I don't know. I mean, I think it happens all the time.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't in your contract for billing. But
and there's clearly no programs.
Obviously no programs out there either. What the minister was thinking, who knows? Maybe he wasn't really the minister. He was at the wrong church. You never know. You know, youth ministers get a lot of credit, and I think they should. And I'll tell you why. Because they have to deal with those damn kids, and what a pain in the butt that is. You have no idea. I've dealt with youth ministers. Not that I go to church, but I've done church shows and things like that. And usually, you're not dealing so much with the youth minister, but you're dealing with the music minister. And the music minister is usually the one in charge of putting these shows together. I used to do this huge show at the First Baptist Church of Fort Lauderdale. And matter of fact, I said this on the show before, but it was the only job that the union actually got me. They called me up and said, hey, we normally don't do this, but there's a position open for a lighting designer. Are you interested? I said, wait a second, United Scenic Artists? Yes, they did that. They made me a lot of money because they paid a lot of money, which was fabulous. But in this case, going back to what Steve said and what Stan says, this does happen. And it happens in legitimate theater as well. And, sometimes you show up and your name's not on the program, but everyone else's name is on the program. To answer your question, it's not a big deal. As Steve said, everyone knows who did it. So it really doesn't matter. So should you give up the job because that's what you're going to do if you cause a ruckus? I'd say no, especially if they're paying you good money. Just laugh about it. Don't say anything to anybody. It's okay.
I would just say, be a goldfish. Do you know that expression?
No.
This is another Ted Lasso quote. The goldfish has the shortest memory of any creature on Earth, apparently. So it happened. Forget about it. Forget about it. Like you said, let it slide, roll off your back like a duck, be a goldfish, and just keep moving on. Keep swimming. Don't hang on to that.
Or you could be a goldfish and just float at the top of the tank.
That happens.
That's what happened to my float goldfish.
Upside down, they're backstroking at the top of the tank.
You forgot to feed a goldfish.
Look, Mom, they're doing the backstroke. I didn't know goldfish knew how to do that.
No, that's
David.
A Ted Lasso quote. It's brilliant. Just be a goldfish. You lost the game. You're on to the next game.
There you go.
Be a goldfish.
Well, Stan, I think you have our next question there.
Oh, I do. And this comes from Gavin in Michigan. And he wants to know, should I present a color palette in early design research? I'm talking about an emotional response via color. Is this useful or more confusing for the team? He's talking about lighting. Well, I don't know. I think in school we do that, but it's sort of like, oh, here's some pictures of some artwork that I relate to around this show, and but I don't know. I think it's hard to unsee something once you show something to someone. And if you say, these are you're not talking about the colors of the lights, are you? So an emotional response to the work with color, I don't know how meaningful that is, frankly. What does it say to the costume designer or the director? I think if you want to show a piece of art that has a feeling or an emotion or an energy that you connect to, that you think the show should feel like, I think that's great. But colors in early phase, it's usually the last thing I pick. And so I'm not sure I'm not sure. It might be useful to you to look at colors as you're thinking about the production, but is it linked to a scene? Is it linked to a song? Is it what is its purpose? I guess that's my question. What do you guys do what do your students do in terms of showing color in early design, lighting design research material?
Well, they do basically what you suggested. They bring in artwork. They bring in sometimes they bring in color swatches. I know I bring in color usually because it's very emotional to me what color is, and I work from a much more emotional point of view when I do a show. So sometimes I'll bring in music, sometimes I'll bring in color, sometimes I'll bring in art. Anything that helps communicate what you're thinking is valuable. Obviously, you're not going to go in there, like Stan said, where you have swatches and saying, this is the gel color for my lights. No, we're not talking that. That's too specific. And most people will just write you off as some tech head. But you come in with color to talk about, to help explain the emotional feel of the moment or of the entire show. How about you, Steve?
I think if it helps you, sure, why not? It might help you more in your studio than presenting it to the entire team at a meeting with them. It might get in the way, and you might get some pushback on it because it's such an abstract. So I think that's something that maybe goes into your thing box, that box that, the shoe box where you put all of your research into and all the stuff that you're thinking about and working on and moving toward the show. And how long you keep it in there, who knows? Maybe the next day you pull it out and throw it away and go, it served its purpose. So I'm always a little wary of doing that in a room full of people when we're having our first kind of discussion about the show.
I just had a thought. I remember a conversation I was having years ago with Linda Essig, and she was the assistant to, I think the lighting designer was Arden Fingerhut. There's a name from the past. And she was lighting, might be in Linda's book. Maybe I should plug that a little bit. And she's lighting a very straightforward play, Arsenic and Old Lace. And she was looking for her color inspiration. And she thought of these women in the play, and she thought they're the kind of women that keep potpourri in their drawers, with their clothing to keep it smelling nice. And so she collected, like Steve was saying, in the studio, she gathered a bunch of boxes of potpourri, which are essentially dried flowers. And I think she just let that seep into her consciousness. And when she was picking her pastel palette for the show, it could have came from what a box of potpourri would look like. And I think, to Steve's point, it's the kind of thing you'd use in your studio, not necessarily as your own sort of personal process, maybe more so than useful for a team.
Okay. Anonymous from Los Angeles asks, I am the lighting designer on a critically successful new musical, which has been playing at a prominent regional theater. After many great reviews, a producer has decided to pick up the show and move it to Broadway. This would be my first Broadway show. Unfortunately, the director has decided to replace the costume designer, who I have collaborated with for years and is a good friend of mine. What should I do?
I think your friend, the costume designer, will understand. I absolutely think they'll understand. They're not going to say walk away from a Broadway show.
Exactly. Look, let's be honest. Okay, this is a team sport until you get to commercial theater. That's basically what it is. I mean, come on.
It's a business, kid. It's a business.
But we understand, Stan, Steve, and I understand how important it is to develop friendships and all that. And you feel like you're kind of letting someone down if you don't stand behind them. But, who knows why this director may have decided to use another costume designer. Put yourself in this position. What if the director fires you? Are you expecting your costume designer to walk off her first or his first Broadway show? Of course not. So have a drink, tell them how sorry you are, and they'll support you. Don't you think, guys?
You're like that little gerbil that the costume designer found with a broken foot. They've nursed you back to life, and now they're throwing you into the air and setting you free to go in and do whatever you want to do. I mean, I've been bumped from shows, and
Sure.
I've had colleagues bumped from shows. I mean, it's a two-way street. That's just no. I mean, I thought you were going to say the costume designer was your partner, which is a little different. But even then, they're going to say, go,
course.
do the show.
But
Especially if they're your partner.
I got something to contribute sort of philosophically. Like, what would you do? Like, what action would you take? But I think about one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. So you have to know your sphere of influence and your sphere of control. And in this case, you don't really have any sphere of influence.
No control.
You don't have any sphere of influence over who they're going to hire as a costume designer. You don't have any control over, what do you have control over? You have no control over those people. They're doing what they're doing. But you do have some control over your relationship, and you even have some influence over your relationship with your costume design friend. So that's where I would focus on how you keep the relationship healthy, and like the guys are saying. But you have no input. You have no sphere of influence over that decision. And And so you just have to leave that alone and just, build your relationship with your costume friend. Don't let that affect that if you can.
Hey, I got some breaking news. It just came over the wire. My union at school is authorizing a strike vote.
Good for them. We can't do that. We can't do that legally in Florida.
You can't do that in Florida, right?
No, because they gave that up in the 1960s. They gave up the right to strike.
There you go.
You need to leave that state. It's changing.
Well, Florida or California?
Florida. You need to just say goodbye, Florida.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story.
You are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers, and Light Talk is sponsored by
Better Than Nothing Industries. And today they present Budget in a Box. No doubt, one of the most frustrating problems facing a young lighting designer is to maintain the integrity of the design throughout the design process. That is why the good men and women of Better Than Nothing Industries created Budget in a Box. Budget in a Box is the simple way to reference solutions of all kinds of budget-related problems. A cookbook, as it were, such as how to protect your design following the simple rules of 40-30-20-10 plan. In case you cut economy class that day, the basic formula is 40% of your income goes to savings, retirement, and your rainy day fund. 30% of your income goes to necessary expenses, food, rent, so forth. 20% of your income goes to discretionary expenses, entertainment, travel, things you really want, and 10% of your income goes to beer. By applying the 40-30-20-10 process, you can achieve design perfection. For example, let's look up the recipe in the Budget in the Box to solve the problem of a troublesome director who is never satisfied. Let's begin. 40% of your design is just what you want. Fixed and unmovable and no negotiation, period. 30%, well, it's just too damn cool to change. No negotiation here. 20% is negotiable with the director, providing you have the time to make the adjustments. And 10% of your time, well, that can still go to beer. Call today and ask about our Budget in a Box add-on solution cards, such as how to make a $100 budget look like $100. How to use daylight savings time to expand your workday. How to say no to a nun about designing the low-budget Christmas play down at the orphanage. Budget in a Box. It's not perfect, but hey, it's better than nothing.
And now, back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those slithering iguanas moving about Stan's patio.
You have iguanas now?
Bouncing. You've got iguanas. Well, apparently you don't listen to the shows because the iguanas came last week.
That's why everything's slimy outside.
That's right.
That's what that sound outside is.
I ate the ducks, remember?
I thought they were orbiting the Earth. The monkeys have escaped. Who knows where they are? They're probably in the dean's office.
The monkeys are out making new viruses.
You know where they are?
Yes.
No. They're in the president of the University of Florida's office. Since he's never there,
they have
to have a place to live
the
there.
monkeys are running the University of Florida.
There you go. Monkeys will probably run a better country.
They probably could.
Let's put the monkeys in Congress. Okay.
Just like stock pickers, they just throw darts at the board and you'll do better than your advisor. Same thing.
There you go. You know what it means when they're like slithering around your patio?
It's time for an Let's Talk About.
LTA. Let's talk about. That's right. And today's Let's Talk About is all about you two at the Sphere. Not us two.
Is it about the U2 concert or is it about the Sphere itself?
It's really about the Sphere, but we're going to talk about the concert because that was the big premiere of the Sphere. It happened like 3 or 4 nights ago.
Right.
And for those who don't know what the Sphere is, the Sphere has been being built for about 2-3 years now. It's this giant sphere. What is it, about 360 feet high in circumference, right?
How many
it's like
feet
this
high?
big half globe.
How many feet?
360 feet.
Okay.
Right? As a matter of fact, you can put the Statue of Liberty inside of it. That's
with or
how
without
tall
the
it is.
pedestal. But
Think
okay.
how many iguanas you could put in there.
The pedestal is pretty big. The statue's not as big as the pedestal, but yeah.
I don't know.
Well, maybe the shoe's bigger than the
It's still impressive.
It's still pretty
impressive.
It's still big.
Listen,
Yeah, that's big.
it holds 17,500 people.
Like the garden.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's really it's a performance space. It really is. It's not like an arena. It's really amazing because it completely covers the performance space, and it has LEDs on the outside of it and LEDs on the inside of it. And when I say LEDs, I'm not talking about 1,000. I'm not talking about 10,000. What are we talking about, Steve? How many LEDs in this thing?
I'm still thinking about those iguanas. Are they slithering toward Light Talk Central, or are they slithering
in Light
away?
Talk Central, but they're slithering around his patio.
If those iguanas were in Las Vegas, and if they could count, they would count 1.2 million LEDs spread across 580,000 square feet.
580,000 square feet, so a little more than 500,000 square feet. But I have a question, like putting on my consultant hat now. Would that be square feet? But you have what David just described, what's really interesting is interior or exterior LEDs, and interior, is it just, is it two separate panels, or is it one panel that's bi-directional?
Well, first of all, they're not panels, Stan. What they are, they're pucks.
Pucks, okay.
And each puck, I believe, are 48 LEDs. Yeah. And the pucks are spaced at 8 inches away from each other. So they if you can imagine like a big
it's a string, it's a
like
net. It's a net.
Yeah. It's a net, right, of these things. Yeah. And because of the distance between the people and these LEDs,
the resolution,
what was the resolution?
The resolution's incredibly high, yeah.
It's incredibly high. Yeah. And there have been a lot of videos coming out on YouTube. As a matter of fact, we posted a few on the Light Talk Facebook page that are just stunning. I mean, it's stunning because, and to me, I mean, first of all, Steve, how much did this thing cost?
$2.3 billion.
$2.3 billion. And how does that relate? How much did SoCal Stadium cost, like a typical NFL stadium?
That one was expensive, but the Jerry Jones World was $1.2 billion.
All right.
And it seems like the average cost has been about $1.7 billion for an NFL stadium.
All right. So it's significantly higher, more, and that's 17,000 seats. I think 17,500 to be exact. All right.
20,000 if you go festival and some people can stand.
Right, exactly. So it's really a massive place. It's really quite impressive, and also not even lighting. I mean, audio, speakers. How many speakers were there?
What was really weird about that is, if you remember when Caw moved into Vegas, they had something goofy like 400, 500 speakers. I mean, it was just really impressive what they had done. And I think what we found online is that the Sphere has, hard to believe, the Sphere has 164,000 speakers in it.
I love it. 164,000.
What happens is U2 starts and they turn on the sound system and lights around the strip dim a little bit and come back up.
This thing was built by Madison Square Garden Company from the information David sent me, so MSG. I just looked up just to see, because you said it's 17,000 seats. Because I've seen a lot of concerts in Madison Square Garden, and I was just curious how many seats MSG holds. So MSG is 20 to 21,000 for most events. For concerts and other events, the capacity can vary from over 18 to 20, so depending upon the erasure. So it's similar in scale if you've been in Madison Square Garden in terms of seating, but of course it doesn't have this dome. And this dome is 360, yes?
Right, it's 360.
Right. It also suggests that Madison Square Garden, they've been successful for a while now. It also suggests that they have figured out what the sweet spot is for ticket sales.
Yeah, they sure have.
Well, it's so amazing that this thing not only gives you this unbelievable immersive experience as an audience member inside, but outside, because it's covered by these LEDs outside as well. It can create these amazing images for this, for Las Vegas. I mean, it's so huge. Brackley talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's so huge, it's stopping traffic. I mean, Sometimes they do an image of the moon on it. It's a three-dimensional giant moon. Looks like a moon has landed in
Where's it located?
Vegas.
Where is it, on the Strip, off the Strip, north of the Strip?
No, it's a little off the Strip. It's by the Venetian, I believe it is.
Okay.
I think it's part of the Venetian.
Be cool to see from as you're taking off and landing too.
Oh, you can see it easily.
Yeah.
They had this big eye on it. It was turned into an eye. I mean, it was just an amazing image.
Apparently, there are. I looked at the company that I think it was Radiant. You sent me that link today, David. The Radiant or something. The company that makes the LEDs. I went to their website and looked at other projects. They have done similar things in China on similar scale. So I was wondering whether this was a first, but I don't think it's a first. It's a first for Las Vegas. But apparently this is, and actually the Burj Khalifa, I believe, in Dubai, there's portions of it that also have an LED net as well.
It's pretty cool. Now, not only does it have an amazing amount of lighting and LED, and not only does it have 164,000 speakers, so it has amazing sound, it also has a whole 4D experience, which means that the seats will vibrate.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's crazy.
Well, it's more than just vibrating seats. They can also push 1.5 million cubic feet of air through that space to simulate an explosion.
And sense. They could even scent the air.
What were all those theaters they built in the 70s with the gigantic movie screens?
IMAX?
Remember that?
70 millimeter, right.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, think about what they could do in there just from a motion picture
Disney's
point of
been
view.
doing stuff like that in the round with multiple projectors, but not on this
scale.
scale.
Nothing like
Resolution,
this.
not in this
Nothing
scale.
like this.
Right.
17,000 people. And, and the images that the videos that have been coming out of this concert on YouTube are just stunning because it is not, I mean, you look at U2 down there and they're like, you can't even see them. They're just tiny people.
They're like little ants.
But it's not about that because it's really about the beautiful, incredibly creative video design.
Right.
And the video design that I have seen so far, and again, I've probably seen a total of maybe a half an hour of video from this show, has been just pristine and breathtaking, actually. It's been breathtaking. That one image, I sent it to you guys this morning. It's that sunrise over the desert.
Yes, it's stunning.
Oh my God. It looks like you're there.
Try to get your head around the scale. It's almost like it's 21st century laserium, like a planetarium kind of idea, but at a scale that we've never seen before.
I don't want to drop names, but The Edge told me that seating in section 1 and section 2 are what you want.
Yeah.
Not too high, not too low. 1 and 2, those are the perfect
I want to drill
seats.
into some of the engineering feats to do this because David, you sent me a link to an article and I read briefly today, but talking about the heat management, the weather management, the structural engineering. There's a lot of really, current knowledge that we haven't seen applied in the build of this thing. That I'm curious what software they built it in, who the design team was. It's really a remarkable feat, and it's nice to see that. Nice to see it, But
yeah, and something. I think that this is just the beginning.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
I think this is where we're going to be now. From now on,
Yep.
And it's not going to take long for you to have your own sphere in your own living room. And you can watch your whatever you want to watch on TV if it's not in 3D, it's going to be completely surrounded. It'll be totally immersive experience. We've already had this with sound. Sound already is reaching this point now with Atmos and different type of sound technologies. But now it's not going to take long for this to happen.
Here's one of these things where you don't get credit. So years ago, we were doing some work in this realm with I'm going to take it out of theater for the moment, into healthcare. We were doing work with our Brain Institute, and we were talking about immersive environments for healing, which included sound, light, and other elements to help people recover from surgeries and whatnot. And the Brain Institute deals with people with brain injury. And the director said, wouldn't it be great if in a room, the entire room was a projection surface, so to speak, and it had audio, and the family could be there with them if they're not available. You could have whatever environment would be conducive to helping somebody heal better, because you need to be around things that they know can sound and light and interaction, social interaction, improves healing outcomes. And we were going to write this huge multi-million-dollar grant to get that, and the guys at the Brain Institute were into it, and it just never happened. But again, this idea of, like you're saying, in your home, this is happening already in elderly care, where people who can't travel from their homes to be in the movie, in the place, traveling, interacting with each other in these virtual environments. There are healthcare companies that are going down this road as well. So is that work for us from entertainment? Yes, there is, because the content has to be made, right? And the technology has to be employed. So I think you're right. It's going to be hugely disruptive, and maybe in some ways really, really great for humanity too.
To answer Stan's question, it's Studio Populus is the architectural firm who did this.
Who is it,
and
Steve?
If you go to their website, Studio Populus, and if you go to their website, we'll post it to the Facebook site. They do mega projects, just gigantic things.
I'm sure. For people who have mega money. You know what I mean? But let's talk about the money for a second, all right? Because I did a little bit of math here. Now, U2 is playing there for how many dates? Until through December, first week of December, right?
Right.
So I think that's like, how many dates? Like 28 or something like that. A lot of dates, all right? If you have 17,500 seats in this place, and if they sell them out, the lowest price ticket, again, because I tried to get seats and I said, oh, this is too expensive. $400 a seat. That's the lowest price seat. All right. So let's just say that they're all selling at $400, which they're not. Some are selling up into the thousands. Okay. If the place is sold out, you got 17,000 or 17,500 at $400. You know how much money that is?
A lot.
$6 million a night. $6 million. Now, my question is, what cut is U2 getting? You know what I mean? They needed a big name, and they needed someone who'd be in residence there for like 2.5 months.
I think they get at least, Adele, I think I read, was getting $1 million a show.
Yeah, but what percentage? Is it 50% of the gate?
To step on stage.
Is it 50%? Is it 20%? Is it 40%? Is there like, up to half, up to 50% capacity? You get 50% and you get less? I'm really curious to find out what sort of contract they signed, because that's a lot of money. $6 million? That's a lot of money. A show. That's crazy.
I wonder what they estimate their break-even mark is going to be.
Well,
how long it's going to take?
If it's $2.5 billion to build, again, and not every seat's $400.
How much was it to build? 2.3?
About $2.5 billion, right?
The numbers online are all over the place.
Let's not do it at $400, because again, let's say the average price is really more like $1,300. Yeah, or maybe $900. Let's say it's $900, because I know that there were some going up to the $2,000 range. So let's say it's $1,000 a seat. That's even more.
I have a different set of numbers for you. I wanted to know how much it cost per square foot to build it. So I asked ChatGPT to take $2.3 billion by a square footage. I think you said it was 580,000 square feet. The calculation, it would, because you want to have one in your house, right? So the cost would be $3,965.52 per square foot. Now, residential construction in Gainesville is $150 a square foot. So
that's cheap.
So you're at right.
YouTube will not be playing there.
Cheap. That's because you have alligators.
In Dallas, maybe you're going to spend $1,000 a square foot for law firm finish.
It's more like $1,000 a square foot where I live.
So this is $4,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
So which bank is going to fund that? So that would be, MSG didn't pay for it out of their checking account.
Of course,
right? There's a lot of banks backing this who are expecting their loans to be repaid, and so today it's valued at $4,000 a square foot on that money. But is it going to go up in value, down in value? Who knows?
I have a wrench, a monkey wrench to throw into your calculations.
Yes, please.
Because you did square footage, right? Was it linear square footage, or are we talking about volume?
You're getting into cubic square feet, which is not how architecture is priced.
I know, but because this is done on a volume situation, it's so high. It's 360 feet high.
All buildings are done on a volume are volumes. Your room is a volume, right? Same thing. There's still the calculation is square feet.
Okay,
it's still square feet.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, it will come down with mass production. The prices will come down.
If you're doing an
eventually.
aquarium, it might be cubic. If you're doing an aquarium, it might be cubic feet. Right.
If you go to the
website, there's also a secondary source of income. You can do the Sphere experience 3 times a day, and on the weekends 4 times a day. And those tickets are $50 to $130.
Did they come with the vibrator?
You can sit and vibrate.
No, the vibrating seats. They need the vibrating seats.
Yeah, right. Of course,
that's an extra. That's an add. That's an add-on.
I think they have vibrating seats at CAW also.
Or you want air blown up your backside. There's all these little extra
that's
perks.
Nice. I like that. I like the air moving. Okay, but this is really cool. I mean, we're gonna have to go, guys. We're gonna have to go at LDI. We just have to go. We talked about this on last week's show, if you remember it, Steve.
They'll probably give Brackley 4 VIP passes.
Well, no. Ellen says she's trying to arrange something for us.
I know.
Actually, we should broadcast from the Sphere. Ellen should figure out the Lumen Brothers broadcasting from the Sphere. I think that would be something.
Well, no. Again, you didn't listen to the show, Stan. We've already talked about this. Last week, we were talking about how YouTube has some YouTube. Why do I keep saying YouTube? Why YouTube would dare to have a concert at the same time that LDI's in town. I mean, we're going to pull a lot of their people away. So they would never have us there at the Sphere.
Can we charge $400 a seat?
No. We pay our people $400 to show up. Are you kidding me? Please, here's some cheap swag. No, but seriously, it is really an amazing thing. I can't wait to see it. I'm totally psyched. I really don't care about seeing you two, to tell you the truth. To me, they didn't sound that great anyway on the video. But I wasn't listening to the music that much. I was just taking in what I was seeing, and with wonder, with just amazing wonder.
Who would you pay $1,000 to see?
$1,000?
Yeah, who would you pay $1,000 to see? Anybody?
No. Nobody alive right now.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
I certainly wouldn't pay anyone dead.
Exactly. I mean, if you bring John Lennon back to life, I wouldn't pay $1,000. It's just not happening. Not in my world. Anyway. So that's the Sphere, and go and check it out. It is amazing. We're going to post some more stuff. And like we said earlier, we're going to get at least one of the designers on the show. So we'll announce that as soon as we get somebody firmed up. Ellen is working hard on it right now. Ellen and Zach, I believe. All right. Well, Steve has the last question of the day.
Cricket in Massachusetts writes, our director at school brings her dog to rehearsal tech and dress.
Oh.
For whatever reason, the dog growls at me.
Yay!
It's a very big dog, and I'm frightened. What should I do? Well,
bring treats.
I think you need to walk up to the director, and I realize there's a power struggle. You say at school, so I'm assuming you're a student, but hell, I don't know. Maybe you're a faculty member. I think you walk up to the director at an appropriate time and say, I'm uncomfortable. Your dog is growling at me. And when the director says, oh, my dog growls at everyone, don't worry about it, then go to the chair and say, I'm uncomfortable. I'm frightened. This dog is bigger than me. So I think, if you had an allergy, you would go up and say, listen, my nose is running, my eyes are tearing up. I have an allergy. You got to get the dog out of here. You're not asking for it to put the dog down. You're just saying, look, I can't deal with this. It's the darn thing is growling at me. And I like dogs, but I don't like them growling at me. What about you guys? I mean, you're both at schools. If a student came to you and said, Miss Johnson's dog is growling at me while I sit there and program at the light board, what would you tell them?
write better light cues. Obviously, the dog does not enjoy the work you're doing and it's the director's dog. So listen, seriously, if the dog's growling at you, there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people who believe that if you brought that damn Akita into the courtroom, it would look at O.J. Simpson and start growling at him. And that would have been it. He would have been convicted. I just think that dogs are amazing creatures, and I've never seen a dog growl at someone who wasn't a bad person. Sorry, but that's the truth.
Okay, I want to jump in here. I agree with David, and I disagree. I think dogs are amazingly intuitive. Generally, they're great animals. They've been bred for thousands of years to be with humans, and I love them. However, there are dogs that have been traumatized, and sometimes either when they were young or puppies. Let me give an example. The first dog we got together, Pam and I, we brought back from Dallas, in fact, to Nebraska at the time. We got stopped. We had to stop because there was a tremendous tornado warning where we were. And we're parked underneath a gas station canopy in the middle of Kansas somewhere, and the guy closes up the shop and leaves it. We had to sit in that, and we were praying that we didn't get destroyed. And the poor puppy had just met us. We just ripped him out of his home, away from his family. So that lovely dog who's buried right here at our property, for that moment on, they were afraid of thunder. There was just nothing we could do to unwrite that code in its brain. So some dogs, have, just like humans, have things. So I don't know what you do about that. But I would try and make friends with the dog. I would try and build trust with the dog.
Bring treats. Like you said originally. Treats. That'll help.
Try and even the most difficult dogs, once they get to know you, it's like it's like any other relationship.
So Cricket, there's the answer. You go to the damn director and get your dog out of here.
No,
it's a theater. It's not a kennel.
My God!
I'll come and visit your dog at your house.
Look. There's something wrong with Cricket. That's my. I'm not going to get off this
Cricket
thing because
is innocent.
the Cricket is not innocent because the dog is not growling at anyone else. So either her lighting sucks, or someone who looks just like Cricket was mean. It could be that
Cricket has an odor.
Yeah, she could have an odor. So change your odor, Cricket. Take a bath, for God's sake. Take a shower.
I'm waiting now with bated breath when I hear on Light Talk that Stan and David have been bit by a Chihuahua.
I've never been bit by a dog.
Oh, poor little, you must smell like a steak.
Whenever I go to my friend Tony's house, the Chihuahua is barking like crazy. It takes about 20 minutes for Chulu is his name.
Chulu.
No, Louie. Louie is his name. Chulu died.
Close.
Louie the Chihuahua, to calm down and we become friends. He's just a high-strung Chihuahua, but he's a sweet dog. Mm-hmm. And he has to bark a lot when I get there. It takes a long time for him to chill out.
That's different. You're moving into Louie's space.
Right.
You have come into Louie's house. And Louie, for whatever reason, is, protecting his house.
That's true.
The theater is not the dog's house. If she went to an opening night party and the dog growled at her, I would say, look, you're in the dog's territory.
Right.
Dogs growl right back. Growl back.
This has gone to the dogs. The show has gone to the dogs.
It has gone to the dogs. It's true.
Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you decide to litigate, the Snoop Group with the legal team of Sparks, Burnout, and Chasey will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Lone Star State.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
The original Light Talkers are broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Toodles.